Hey everyone, welcome to another amazing episode of the Brave Entrepreneur Podcast. I am your host, Jena Rodriguez. I'm your brand, business, and brave strategist helping entrepreneurs unleash their potential and truly escalate their level of success. And I do that with brand clarity, profit enhancement, and money-making strategies. And I love working with, talking to, and conversing about brave and business, etc., and entrepreneurship. And that's what we're going to do today. And we have an amazing guest, Abbi Perets. How are you? Welcome.
Thank you. I am fine. I am having such a great day. How are you?
I am having an amazing day. Yes. I love, I love what I do, right? We love what we do.
It makes all the difference in the world, doesn't it?
It really does. Yeah. It's just like, it's such an opportunity to change the world and be in our communities and things like that. So I'm having a great day.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. So take a second and I want everybody to know how brilliant you are and what you do as part of your talent. So please introduce yourself.
Thank you. My children might disagree with you. They think I'm absolutely nothing special. We never ask them for their opinion. They don't have opinions that matter. So hi, I'm Abbi. I am the founder of Successful Freelance Mom. I teach moms who are at home with kids how to break into freelance writing. And on the client side, I work with online entrepreneurs who have established themselves in the marketplace already and who have a product or a service that is amazing, but they're not quite making money on the automated side of the business because they don't have a smart email sequence. So I help them create those smart email sequences so that they can sell more of their stuff in a non-skeevy, non-salesy, non-icky way. So
yeah. I love that. And it's so highly needed, right? I think people really miss the mark on that, or they don't necessarily set it up in the right, because they don't know what to do with it. Right?
It's true. A lot of people don't know. So I see two main things. Either I see people really missing opportunities because they get caught up in providing that amazing service or product and they don't take the time to build out the automated stuff that could really put some of that on autopilot for them. Or they try and it comes out sounding salesy. It comes out sounding like they're trying too hard to do something. A lot of times too, this happens when people follow some sort of formula. And particularly I see this with women because a lot of the formulas out there were written by men. And I don't know, like men and women are different. We're more emotional. We have more heart. And I don't see, when I look at a sequence often, I'll say to somebody, this is technically accurate, but I'm not seeing you. When I talk to a client and I hear her talk about her service or her product and what she provides and what she does, she's like full of energy and it's amazing and it's incredible. And there's like heart just pouring out. And I don't see that in the email. So that's what I do. I help them get that heart back into those emails.
Yeah,
and
bring them into it.
Hotcakes. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I love that. Would you say, I would say my opinion is vulnerability is huge. And transparency, what do you think about that?
So transparency, absolutely. Vulnerability, yes, when it's honest. I've seen some people try to kind of jump on that bandwagon, like, oh, vulnerability is big. Let me talk about depression. Well, if you're talking about depression from a place where you've never experienced depression.
Right, that's not what I'm talking about.
That's not vulnerable. That's weird. So vulnerability, yes, but it has to really actually be vulnerability. It has to be honest. And it's not being vulnerable for the sake of being vulnerable. It's being vulnerable in a way that shows your audience how you've grown, in a way that is helpful to them. And it can be very exciting. And it does take, it's also really hard to fake it because if you're not actually doing that work on yourself, it comes out sounding skeevy. So
or forced and made up or, what have you. And, it's great that you not only translate that into the writing, right? That's what you do, right? In your business. But that's what this show's about. That's what this is. This is about like getting under the hood for people, our lives, yours and mine and anybody else on the show, to show where we've come from, what what we've accomplished, maybe what we have left to grow in, and because we always have something.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what's important, is that, my mission for this, a conversation like this is to be as real and raw as possible, and, and allow people inside the real story, and,
I'm not ever impressed by, it's like when you read a novel, you don't want to read, she woke up and everything was great and it was sunny out and then she won $1 million and everything was perfect. The end. That's a very boring story. There's no conflict happening there. So it's also, it doesn't feel good to me to hear somebody say, so the first thing I ever tried totally worked. I made $1 gajillion and then I did it again and everything was perfect. And my husband is beautiful, is gorgeous. And I'm very thin. And whatever, like, I'm like,
yes.
I don't like you very much.
I don't connect, not connecting.
Not feeling it. So yeah, like, I want to know about your journey. I want to know, number one, that I'm not the only person who's struggling, that I'm not the only person. I mean, my kids are a little bit older now. My youngest is 8, my oldest is 18. I have 5 of them. And, but I know when they were younger, like that feeling of, oh my God, how does anybody do this? And I didn't want to feel like I was the only person who felt that way. It was really comforting to me to hear other women talk about how they struggled the same way. So, it's something, it just makes it much easier for us to relate to people and to connect with people on a much more intimate level when we know, oh yeah, not everything's perfect for her either. So
and that's the core of what this conversation's about, this show's all about, and it is the it's the humanness that I want people to connect with, and I haven't always been as vulnerable as I am now. I'm like, we're talking right now, but this sucker's about to like syndicate to world. We're in over 70 countries, and which is exciting, right? And I'm like, so I don't know who's listening, or watching, and and yet we've got to do it because it means that we can connect people not only to us but to everyone, right? The human element. So
absolutely. I think too, it's important, when you have gone through something hard and come out the other side. I think it's important to share that story because it gives hope to the people who are still kind of in that bad place. And who are wondering, do people come out of this, or is this it? Is this all I get? And that's, we've all gone through hard things. And it's scary and it's lonely. So
it can feel like, the light is, fading at the end of the tunnel. And that's what we're here to do is brighten that light up and show that, this is just temporary, and that we can do it. They can do it. Right.
Yes.
So, so speaking of, I know you have a story, a huge story. And it's not it just is your story, right? We all have one. And I just want people to understand, just, you're such a happy person, and at least that's what I can see, and just in our short conversation. And so what have you had to experience? What's been your brave?
Sure. So let me talk about that. And let me start with what you just said about being happy. So I truly believe that happiness is a choice. And I'm going to come back to that after I share what got me to that point. So I had a very normal life for most of my life. When I was 20, I got married. I moved all over the world. My husband is Israeli. Right now I live in Israel. I've lived in the States. I grew up in the States. I've lived on the East Coast in California and Houston, all over. Nice. And when I had my first baby, like, everything was perfect. I left my office job, started freelance writing from home 20 years ago, and that was fantastic. And then I had my second baby, another beautiful little girl, and everything was awesome. And then I had this third baby who was a boy. And from the beginning, everything was different because he had special needs that nobody quite identified in the beginning. They knew something was wrong. They didn't know what exactly. There was all this like physical therapy and developmental therapy and speech therapy and occupational therapy. There was a lot of therapy. It was really, it was not so much fun. And for a long time, that was very hard. And then I had 2 more kids after that, including my 5th child was born with one ear. It's called microtia. So on his right side, he has just a little kind of stump of an ear. He wears a magnetic hearing aid on that side. That's a bone anchored hearing aid because there's no like ear to put it in. So it goes to the bone inside. Anyway, so I had 5 kids and 2 kids with issues. One with like the hearing aid kid, we don't even consider that issues in our house. We're like, yeah, bring something else. Like that's not doing it. Because
Yeah.
kids who had like significant developmental disabilities. And then when I finally, like it takes a while when you have a kid with special needs, real genuine special needs, you kind of mourn the child you thought you had. You go through like those stages of grief. And that took a long time for me, like a decade.
Yeah.
No, like a long time. And I finally got to a place where I was good with it and I was really finding happiness.
Stop the resistance.
Right, right. And then that kid got diagnosed with leukemia. So that's,
wow.
Yeah, like that's where the rain comes down and the air goes out of the room and you don't even know, like,
yeah.
You know, when you're in a hospital and you don't know if your kid is going to come home with you, that's really scary.
Right.
That's like fear like I've never known in my life before. So that was, you know, that was hard. And I think that what I learned about myself during that time, I mean, I had been angry before when I had a kid with special needs, but it was more on the angry side. It was not so much on the depression side. I had a lot of anger that I had to work through. When my kid was sick like that, I was depressed. It was the first time in my life that I understood what makes people commit suicide. It was really, I mean, it was that bad. It was really, my kid got sick and a week later my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer. So it was 2013. It was a crappy year in my house.
Wow.
And it was, I mean, it was really hard. I remember I would get up every morning. My husband did nights at the hospital and I did days. My husband went to work every day. Okay. Almost every day. So he did nights at the hospital. I slept at home with our other 4 children. And then I would come in the mornings and he would go to work. And I would get up in the morning and I would think, do I have to get out of bed? Like, can I just stay here? Can I just pull up the covers? And I had sleeping pills too that I would take because I would get home and I needed to sleep. I knew that I needed to sleep. So I would get home and take a sleeping pill and go to bed. And I would think every morning, maybe I'll just take all the sleeping pills. And I kept them downstairs because I was afraid that I would just take them, like that I would be lying there in my bed and I would be like, nope, I'm just going to take them. It was the first time in my life that I understood really, truly how people can get to that point.
Yeah.
So that was hard. And I think that a lot of creative entrepreneurs, because we are very empathetic people by nature, I think that a lot of us struggle with some form of, you know, mild to major depressive disorder at some point in our lives. So I think that for a lot of people, being brave is getting up every morning. I really believe that. I think that for a lot of people at different times in our lives, you know, there are periods that we go through where we see that darkness more clearly than a lot of people do. And I think that for a lot of people, and it's important to acknowledge, if you're getting up every day and showing up, even when it's really hard, know that acknowledge that and say to yourself,
the minimal brave.
Right. Like I'm doing something which right now is taking every bit of my energy and I'm still doing it. So, you know, take that and grow from that. Anyway, thank God my kid got better. My mom got better. Everybody got healthy. But it took time for me to get out of that place. It wasn't like my son came home from the hospital and went back to school and I was like, great, fantastic, I'll go back to work now. It took a long time. It took a long time, but I got to a place where I had to say to myself, I can choose to let this be the defining thing in my life, or I can choose joy. I can choose happiness. I can choose to get up off my kitchen floor and find something. And so I'd been working as a freelance writer for 15 years before my son was sick. And when he was sick, I shut down the business. I knew I couldn't serve clients with any kind of integrity or whatever. So I just shut down the business in a single weekend, handed off projects. When I wanted to start working again, I didn't want to do the same thing anymore. I had been doing a lot of corporate work and I had been doing a lot of magazine writing and a lot of different kinds of freelance writing. And I wanted more of a connection with people. And I also saw there were a lot of moms. I was in a Facebook group for moms of kids with cancer. And there are a lot of people, especially in the United States, given the way health insurance works right now, who, you know, one parent usually has to quit the job and stay at home with the sick child. And that impacts you financially. For many people, that affected their health insurance. there were moms who were trying to get back into the workforce or trying to find some way to provide some sort of income for their families and were really stuck. And I thought, I know how to help these people. And that was really, for me, that was a big part of what got me up off the kitchen floor. It was thinking, I have something that I can share with people that can help them.
Yeah.
So getting out of myself and kind of figuring out what can I do that would be beneficial to other people. And it started really informally. I posted in that group, like, does anybody want me to teach them this stuff? And I had a couple of people who were like, yeah. And I started just, writing up my thoughts, and then I would email those people. And I didn't have like a mailing list, like a ConvertKit or a whatever, like I had Gmail, and I was sending
There's my database.
Right. I was copying and pasting this email to like 6 or 7 different women each week, like as I would come up with these things. And they were just, my written out email lessons. I'm sure they had typos and whatever. Like I wasn't putting together a course. I was just sharing the information that I had.
Yeah.
And it worked for these women because it's a system that, I had built over the years without even realizing that it was a system.
Sure.
Those weren't terms that I thought in, So I just shared that information. It was helpful. It was beneficial. And I got excited about the idea of really sharing it. And I decided, okay, I'll build a course. I don't know how to do that, but I figured, I'm fairly intelligent. I read, I write. I could probably figure this out.
Right.
So I did. And that was just over 1.5 years ago. I built Successful Freelance Mom. The first version of the website was really terrible because I did it, and I'm not a designer I'm a great writer. I'm a terrible designer. We have to know our strengths, right? So
yes, of course.
I found somebody who's like, oh, I really need writing help and I can design for you. I was like, great. So traded some services, got a website up, and people responded to it. And that to me was like amazing and exciting. And I was getting feedback from people, and people were saying, I did that thing you said and it worked. And I was like, this is like, people would email me and they'd be like, you're amazing. I saw your video on how you set up your schedule, and my husband thinks you're brilliant. And I'm like, could he tell my husband that? Because he doesn't think I'm brilliant. Like,
Can you send him an email?
Asking you for advice, So that was really exciting. And it was only, as I kind of got into working on developing my own email sequences and building out my own sales pages for products, I realized how much I enjoyed that part of the work. And I thought, wow, if I'm going to work with clients at all, and I feel like I'm teaching freelance writing, so I'm teaching about working with clients, it felt disingenuous to me to not be working with clients.
Right.
So like, I'm not a fan of people who are like, well, I'll teach you how to do this thing that I don't do. So,
yeah, exactly.
Did not want to be that way. And so I started, it started very informally. Like I had good friends who I had met in these online worlds, and, oh, I need some help with my email sequence. Oh, sure. Send it over. I'll give you my notes. And then it started where I was like, you know what, it's going to be so much easier if I just write it. Can we hop on a Zoom call for half an hour? I'll ask you what I need, and then I'll write it. And then at some point after I had done 3 or 4 of them and I'd gotten good feedback, somebody was like, why are you not charging for these? And I was like, yeah, that's a really good point. So I'm going to stop doing this for my friends and start doing it for people who will pay me.
Yes.
And it kind of, when I know what I'm not good at, and I know what I'm good at. And I am really good at writing email sequences. And when you are really good at something and you focus on it, you get results for people. And the word started getting out. So
that's awesome.
It is. It's amazing and exciting. And I still have this little bit of a feeling each time I write a sequence for somebody, I'm like, jig is up. They're going to read it and they're going to be like, what the hell is this? But
a little self-doubt, huh?
Just a touch of imposter syndrome, right? I think, and I don't think that you ever outgrow that completely. I'm getting better at, before I send emails out, I do play back for myself the messages that people have sent me. I look at my wall of, nice things, good words.
Yeah, the brag list or the brag wall.
Exactly. So I do spend some time on that, and that helps. And I think that, I think that, I think that when you choose joy and you look to do the things that bring you joy.
Right.
For me, when I wake up and I know that I'm writing, a sequence today, I'm starting with a new client, I'm having a meeting, like I'm excited. I never wake up and say, oh my God, I have to do work. And I know that many people do that. And that's, especially if you built a business yourself, why are you doing work that you don't like? You should only be doing work that you like. So make your business about doing the work that you like. We all have to send out our invoices and things like that. But if you can make the focus, the heart
core
about the things that you like,
right?
Why not do that? So
you've got a choice in the matter, right?
That's what it is. Yeah.
You have number one. I don't know if I got really emotional during your story, but so I thank you for sharing that, and I honor you even more for the brave, because you got up and you chose to see it in a more of a positive manner than let it knock you down for, number one, permanently.
Right.
That was a choice. But more importantly, even for an extended period of time. And you and me both, I have, knock on wood, I have not had that experience, certainly, of, children sick I'm always grateful. My kids are healthy at this, at this point, and myself and my husband. And yet I had other things, a bankruptcy to deal with or face or what have you in business. I've had, abusive childhood that I had to break the cycle from and get out of, and just whatever it is, it doesn't define you unless you choose it. Unless you choose, this is who I am because of this. No.
Right.
It's actually not you. Yeah.
And I think that's so important. And I think that sometimes when we're in the middle of that situation, it's really hard to remember, this doesn't have to be it. This doesn't have to define me. I think it's hard to get that clarity when you're right inside. And like I said, for me, it was only after a couple of months of being in that deep place and dark place and just, literally I would get my kids out the door. My husband would go off to work and I would sit on the kitchen floor and cry. And it was a while. Do I have any mascara left on?
So far, I think it's waterproof. You're good. It's hard. And I do think that people need to give themselves credit for getting up off the floor, for deciding, okay, I'm going to live another day. Because it does get better. And if you work at it and if you choose to make it better. So. Yeah, I think that's where the rub is that, it's our circumstances are not dictating our response.
Right.
We are dictating our response to the circumstance. So however bad we want to judge it, whether it's, it's like a kid with leukemia is not, it's like at the top of the scale. And yet it's still a choice of how we respond. I have a dear friend that's, her daughter is like 16 years old now. And from birth has had 4 open heart surgeries, and she's still kicking and she's on the edge of possibly needing a heart transplant and all that, but she's choosing to live, and her, and mom's choosing to live, and, and it's and it doesn't define what's possible in our life unless we allow it. And I think you've done an amazing job of, demonstrating that. And there was a couple other things that I just thought I'd anchor, and that I want to make sure people heard this. Number one, focus on helping when you are in that poor me place, or oh my God, my world's falling apart, start focusing on helping others, because that's what helps self.
It really does. It really does.
Indicated that. And the other, of course, which we've said a couple times, is happiness is a choice. Joy is a choice. Everything's a choice. The response is a choice. And I think that's brilliant. And then, of course, what you just said, teach what you like to do, teach what you do well, and don't go out there trying to teach stuff you don't know, or, go learn it and master it and then teach it. Right. I teach from experience. I've got, like you and me both, right? 20 plus years experience and in a lot of different industries myself. And so teaching entrepreneurs how to have success. I'm not here to say I can teach you how to make $100 million a year, because I haven't done it yet.
Right.
right? That's my goal, right? So when I get there, I'll teach you, but I'm going to teach you, I can teach you how to have a highly successful, multiple six-figure business.
Sure.
And when I hit 1 million, I'll teach you how to do that too. If you're riding the wave with me, right? Sure. And so I just want people to get, like be honest about where they are and whatever success level they're at. It doesn't matter because there's someone 2 steps behind you that you can help.
Absolutely. And
right?
yeah, and that's such an important point is knowing that, you don't have to know everything and you don't have to know how to do everything perfectly in order to teach other people. There are so many people out there who really do need your help and really are those couple of, like, the things that you take for granted where okay, I need a niche down, and they're like, I don't know what a niche is, and you're like, oh, let me tell you, there are things that you take for granted that other people don't know, and it's so important to remember how deeply entrenched we are in our own worlds and how much we think, well, everybody knows that. I have a friend who started teaching like how to chop vegetables, and she told us, it's like this group of women, she was like, listen, when you pick up the onion, don't cut off that hairy part first. That's what makes you cry. And everybody in the room was like, what? That's the first thing I do. And she's like, that's why you're crying. And we were like, none of us knew that.
Oh, I didn't know that because I don't.
I love that.
That is awesome.
Like, literally a room full of women, and none of us knew that. So
no.
To her, like, how do you not know that? It was like, before I knew how to walk, I knew that, and
that's funny.
We all have those things that we know, that we assume everyone else knows, and they don't know those things. So teach them those things because they're hungry to learn them.
Yeah, they don't know. And it's so, I love that you said that. And I was about to bring up the fact that I love that you niched yourself down to like, writing email sequences, and clearly you could write other marketing collateral or whatever, I'm sure, but being able for people to grab onto, well, what kind of writer, right? Because there's a different style. I write, I've been an author. I used to write poetry, but that's not what we're talking about here. Right. And I don't necessarily say I'm the best at, all of that either. Right. And yet I have an experience. Sure. But the fact that you got clear. So just for entrepreneurs listening, I think it's important, for like, what's your specialty?
It's a huge thing. And I have to say that the more specific you get, and everybody says that it's so counterintuitive, but niching down opens you up to bigger and better things, and it gives you more work. And the truth is, I don't know that it gives you more work, but it helps make sure that the work that you do is work that you can really excel at, and ultimately you can then charge more for it. I mean, I'm working through stuff, where the results I'm able to get for clients indicate that I need to seriously rethink my pricing. When they're using what I'm giving them and making certain amounts of money, well, I don't want to be giving that away for too little. I also want to work with people who understand the value of that and who might be even turned off by that lower price. Like they might think, well, maybe that's not at my level.
That good.
Right. Maybe you're not that good. So when you do niche down and when you are, one of the things that's really exciting to me and that I'm teaching my own students in freelance writing is that when you have that specific thing that you do, you know exactly how long to block out on your calendar. I know exactly which questions to ask somebody when I get on an inquiry call. Right. I know how much time it's going to take me to do each part of the process. That's huge because that's when you can really start playing to your strengths and leveraging, any kind of automation tools that you have and fixing all the parts of the process that might be kind of a little bit iffy in the middle. And just getting it to a point where it's super, super smooth, that's an amazing feeling. That's, I resisted the whole, it feels scary to say no. Somebody recently offered me a great sounding project, work with a person who I love to write a book, to do something fun. And I was like, I thought about it. I really did. I thought about it. And then I thought, no. It's not, and I introduced her to the person who could do it because, and that's even better. Like when you know I do this and she does that, and I can make that connection. It's good karma all around, and it feels good to know I'm sticking to my thing, my zone of genius, my one thing that I'm really, really good at. And
That's right.
it feels good.
It feels good. And you're on the right track. I think it's brilliant. And, and I think, it's just something people can learn from in this conversation for sure. So this is awesome. I so want to keep talking. We will offline. Nobody will hear it. But no, it's been great. I can tell we're fast friends, and we were introduced by obviously a dear friend of ours. Yeah. We know her well, and so it's I can see the like-mindedness for sure. And I love what you're all about. So thank you for being here. So let's make sure everybody knows how to get to you. So what is the best way to connect?
Absolutely. So my site is successfulfreelancemom.com. And if you go on over there, you can find contact me links and everything. You can find everything you want. And if you go to successfulfreelancemom.com/email, I've got a little something for you. I have a whole free course on how to write a great email sequence. So if you're a DIY kind of person and you're like, yeah, you know what, I'm not at the point in my business where I'm going to pay somebody to write my email sequence, you can DIY this. I have given you all the tools that you need and what you need to know when you're putting together a really smart email sequence, because it can really rock your business and help take it to that next level.
I love it.
That is my gift to you.
Thank you for that. We'll make sure we put it in the show notes as well. And I appreciate the gift for sure. So one final question, and then we'll jump off. So one is, if this was your last interview, if this was the last time to share your ultimate message, what would that message be?
Wow. I think at the end of the day, I would have to go with choose joy, choose kindness, choose life. That's what I'd go with. Yeah.
Love it. Perfect. I love it. It's all a choice, right?
It is.
So, and I'm so grateful you chose life, right? After all that hardship. So thank you for being here. I'm so blessed.
Thank you for having me. It was a lot. Yeah. It was powerful. It was really
awesome.
Good.
Yeah, me too. Awesome. And if you are listening, watching, please leave us comments, reviews, feedback, whatever it is. Let us know how this has impacted your life, your business. And if we don't know and we can't hear from you, then it's hard to do even more of it, right? So we would appreciate that feedback, and please share. I know, Abbi's story is very powerful. So share this with other friends and other moms, other even fathers, it doesn't matter, and let them have a piece of this knowledge and nuggets as well. So thank you, Abbi. I'm so blessed to have met you, and I can't wait to share you with the world. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Welcome. All right, everyone, let's go get our brave on. Talk to you next time.